and find out what the Genesis Fairs experience is like no other car buying experience. Genesis Event Group, a proud partner with the Buffalo Bills. MSRP excludes tax title license and destination charges. Financing options available. Please see Genesis Fairs for details. Operates 8/31/21.
Sunday! It's the savings event of the season. Progressive's Home and Auto Bundle and Strap Up Extra Second Law. Your chance to save big by bundling your home and auto insurance, but only this Sunday. Unless you're busy, in which case you can bundle Tuesday. Or if you already have dinner plans, then Friday. The weekend's away from you. You can just wait till next Sunday. Because Progressive's Home and Auto Bundle and Strap Up Extra Second Law isn't going anywhere.
So a friend told me about Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, and his exact words were, "It changed my life. I used to spend a ridiculous amount of time trying to remove tomato sauce from inside our microwave and soap scum off the bathtub. It's like seriously magic, and my secret weapon for cleaning the kitchen, bathroom, doors and walls, and even keeping my sneakers clean. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, greatest invention ever!"
Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, the unicorn of cleaning.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Every day, we fight to preserve magnificent places and wildlife. We are Earth Justice, a national legal nonprofit fighting for your right to a healthy environment. Every day, we fight to advance clean energy. We are Earth Justice, 135 plus lawyers representing clients free of charge. Every day, we fight to combat climate change. We are Earth Justice, and we're here because, now more than ever, the Earth needs a good lawyer. Earth Justice uses the power of law to ensure our planet and its inhabitants have a future. No one fights more cases on the environment than Earth Justice. And we win almost every time, because when we win, the air and water are cleaner, food systems are safer, and public lands are preserved. And we win because these are fights we cannot lose. Want to join us in this fight? The time is now. Go to earthjustice.org today. That's earthjustice.org.
Hi, I'm Dr. Todd Shafton here with Hall of Fame running back Earl Thomas. My family and I have been coming to Dr. Shafton's dental office for years. The office is beautiful and the staff is outstanding. Thanks, Thurman. It's been an honor for me to take care of you and your family. For a Hall of Fame smile, go with the pros though. Dr. Todd Shafton at the Aesthetic Associate Center. Call today for a free consultation, 839-1700.
Hey, most Bulldog here, a window that needs to be replaced can wreak havoc on your home. From heat loss to leaks, they can even cause security issues. When you need to replace windows quickly, call Express Windows for fast, easy, and affordable window replacement. Express Windows' high-quality vinyl bubble-hung windows start at just $269, and military and seniors always get a 20% discount on top of their already low rates. Go to expresswindows.com or call 602-8500 for details. Express Windows, fast, easy, affordable.
WGR Sports Radio 550. All sports, all the time. We're back with more of the Instigators, presented by Seneca Resorts and Casinos. Nothing else comes close.
Notre Dame football player had had a girlfriend who was made up by his imagination. His name was, that's the subject. We're not playing Jeopardy. We're going to talk Jeopardy, but I tried to make up a bullshit Jeopardy. Manti Te'o was the fictional relationship that do you remember Manti Te'o? Making fun of his, he said he had a girlfriend or something, and he never had a girlfriend or something. I don't know, there was something about it. He made up for some reason. He made up a fake girlfriend, but nobody could figure out why. That was a big story one time. And then I don't know,
Pardon? How long are we talking? I don't even know the guy's name. Is he playing what?
no, I don't think he ever made it. I think he was a tight end. No, linebacker. A linebacker. Okay. And a very good one. But anyway, that was the guy. I don't know what the story was. Just a fake girlfriend who died. Yes, that's right. Thank you. He had a fake girlfriend who, I think she died, and no one knew about her. No one ever knew that he had a girlfriend. And then I think he admitted that it was a fake story. But she didn't really die because she wasn't real. So there was that. The reason I'm going with Jeopardy, what? You never heard about that. Oh my God, we used to have jokes all the time. I would be like, hey, look, yeah, you put your arm out like this, but we hang with it. I would make time to That was funny. It was like an ongoing kind of, you're too mature. I don't say what, 2 minutes left here, show. So, Maya, Bayak? I think it's Blossom. Bayak is Manny Bayak. He was Blossom. And Mike Richards. And not the Mike Richards from the other games. They are the new hosts of the. How about that one? Now, this girl here, this lady, Maya Bayak, is Blossom. To me, I was Blossom, I know her as Blossom, okay?
I remember that.
Yeah. And then she's also in the which is like your tarot show. And she's on that. But she's a real neuroscientist in real life. That's her, she has a degree in neuroscience. Really? Yeah. So she's not just some actress, so she's great.
You have to be smart. Like, is that one of the requisites being the host of Jeopardy? And you have to have an extremely high IQ.
I don't know. I gotta tell you, I mean, Alex Trebek sounded like one of the smartest human beings on the planet. The way he sold it. It's all in the delivery, right? Like, I almost felt like Alex Trebek knew all the answers. He probably knew the answers. Told me. I felt like he knew the answers just because he might have known he was that smart. Like, I just be cool. We're fooling a lot of people too.
You need to know, you have to have extremely high.
I know she's smart. You're smart. We got 5 seconds left. Last segment. We're back tomorrow with Marty Instigator. Thanks for tuning in.
WGR Sports Radio 550. All sports, all the time. According to research, 82% of people remember radio ads. That means that 82% of you listening right now will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. If you're hiring, 82% of you will recall that ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster and easier. And 82% of you will know that you can try ZipRecruiter for free today. But you have to go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Like where this ad plays. 82% of you will keep in mind that ZipRecruiter's technology finds qualified people for your job and actively invites them to apply.
You? Who are you talking to?
82% of you will also know that I am with my mom. But the most important thing to know is that ZipRecruiter works. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Will you be part of the 82% who remember where you can try ZipRecruiter for free? It's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Again, that exclusive link is ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Yes, radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Hey, it's Marty Duran here. Our lives are always changing. One second we're moving out of our parents' house, and the next we're parents ourselves. For every phase of life, there's a home that's perfectly suited for you. and Envision Real Estate is here to see you all the way home. Let the fastest growing real estate brokerage in Western New York utilize their cutting edge technology and unmatched client support to help you find your ideal starter home, that big colonial for your growing family, or even help you downsize to a ranch, condo, or townhome that is perfect for active grandchildren. Envision Real Estate will make the process of buying and selling exciting and stress-free. Envision is women-owned with highly trained and dedicated professionals and multiple offices serving all of Western New York. No matter what life hands you, at Envision Real Estate will see you all the way home. Call 274-HOME, that's 274-HOME, or visit seeingyourhome.com. Envision Real Estate.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou, a term provider, 800-333-1750. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you. Except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-333-1750. That's 800-333-1750 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-333-1750. 800-333-1750.
Stress gets a bum rap. Every time you hear it brought up, it's usually someone complaining about how stressed they are. But stress isn't the issue, it's how well you hold up under it. Consider the cardiac stress test. This measures your heart's ability to endure external stress. If you're in shape and otherwise have a healthy heart, then the stress isn't an issue. And ironically, one of several ways to protect your heart from stress is by exposing it to stress in the form of exercise. Pachillo's Fitness here has plenty of at-home options to stress and strengthen your heart. PACILLO. Don't you love when you can't fit that bulky thing you just purchased into your car? Maybe you could put the back seats down. But how are the kids gonna get home? All right, you can drop them off and come back to grab it. I'm sure they'll have no trouble helping you hoist it out of the car later. Well, if it's a bulky piece of fitness equipment like a home gym, you could have it delivered to your house and set up for free. But you have to get it from Pachillo's Fitness Gear because everybody else charges for delivery and setup. PACILLO.
Our workforce needs work. I'm Holly Robinson Peete. Many of you might not know this, but my 22-year-old son has autism.
So do I. My name is Kevin Rodez, and my intellectual difference makes me the passionate actor that I am.
And I'm Mackenzie Cohen, a Paralympian with a developmental difference. Did you know that 97% of HR professionals say that employees with disabilities perform the same or better than their peers without disabilities? Yet still, the differently abled face so many employment challenges in this country.
It is time we start building a workforce that works for all. A workforce that is diverse, inclusive, and equitable for those with intellectual differences.
And for those with developmental differences, too.
A workforce that recognizes that our greatest strengths lie in our differences.
It is time we hire inclusively.
Join us, Delivering Jobs and the Sherman Foundation, in creating pathways to 1 million jobs and leadership opportunities. Please visit deliveringjobs.org.
Sports Radio 550 WGR Buffalo and WKSE HD2 Niagara Falls Buffalo on 98.5 FM.
An Odyssey station.
And Steve Tasker, who has been all over the field, and he has a blue roll cover. Steve, up Flint, we're not even in the stratosphere of normal. Well, let's get it rolling here on Thursday. We're just over 24 hours away from the Bills' first preseason game. And joining me here as Steve is traveling to Detroit is one Maddie Glad, kind enough to co-host with me. How are we doing, Maddie?
Doing good. I can't believe we are already at the first preseason game. I was talking to Bills owner Kim Pegula yesterday. She made an appearance at practice and she was like, how are we already here? This has just been a whirlwind of a month. Josh Allen signing his extension, you get through the first couple of weeks of training camp, and here we are at the first preseason game against the Detroit Lions. It's gone by.
Hasn't flown by, it's taken forever to get here. Wow. All the anticipation for this season, people have been itching to get to this point, and usually when you're itching for something to happen, it seems like it's taking forever. So I'm counting the days. We already know Josh is not going to play, along with probably a handful of other starters at the very least. So there is that. But I think what that does, Maddie, and this is going to be something we'll be talking about probably for most of the show today, is the opportunity that offers to some of the younger players, some of the new additions to the roster. And I think, if anything, for the fans, it familiarizes them all the more with maybe some of the names they don't know quite as well as the Josh Allens or the Stephon Diggs or the Micah Hydes or Tre'Davious Whites.
Yeah, and Sean McDermott talked about that in this press conference yesterday before practice started at 10 o'clock. He kind of addressed the importance of seeing the back half of the roster and getting to evaluate them on Friday night. So he alluded to several starters not starting, and the rest would be on an individual basis. So I'm excited to see some of these guys get some live reps. I think our fan base is excited. I think every year also the back half of the roster gets more interesting just because we keep returning so many players, so many starters, so many second string guys, like we've talked about for the last 3 years. It just gets tougher and tougher to make this final roster.
Yeah, and there was some news today, and the Bills activated Deion Dawkins off the COVID reserve list. So he's finally free and clear of that, and he's been on that list, as you know, before practices even started. First day of training camp, and he was on the COVID reserve list, so he missed 2.5 weeks. I mean, I don't think anybody anticipates he'll be participating tomorrow. He'll probably be one of those starters that will not be on the field, along with Zach Moss, whether you consider him a starter or a split starter with Devin Singletary. I think with that hamstring injury, which is labeled a day-to-day injury, there's no reason to risk having him play either. So he's probably a surefire stretch for tomorrow night's game as well. Meanwhile, the Lions are making roster moves. I think they released a couple players the other day, and then today they released veteran corner Quentin Dunbar and signed free agent running back Craig Reynolds. Now, I think this is in response to the fact that DeAndre Swift, who has been injured in Lions camp, is probably not going to be healthy enough to play tomorrow. I'm guessing that's why they signed this running back, to just have a body ready to go, I guess. I don't know. But they're making.
Yeah, I mean, this is the time to do those types of transactions, especially if you're a Lions team that doesn't really have a run game element on Friday night. You might as well pick somebody up and see if they're worth it. It's somebody who could be kind of buried in your roster there towards the end of training camp when final cuts happen. But speaking of final cuts, I also think it's interesting, Sean McDermott brought up this point, that pretty much after every preseason game, since there's 3 of them this year, we're going to be having some sort of cuts coming up. That's something that kind of flew over my head as we're really anticipating the final cuts towards the end of August. But I always forget, we're going to be down to 85 soon. That number's going to keep getting smaller and smaller as we approach week 1.
And for those of you Bills fans that can't wait until tomorrow to actually see some football, you can get an early scouting report on the Patriots tonight, as they are hosting the Washington football team. So you can get a little Fitz, you can get a little Patriots. They're playing at 7:30 tonight on NFL Network. There is another game, although I don't know if we'll be able to view it in the Western New York area. Steelers-Eagles in the Battle of Pennsylvania is the other preseason game tonight. So 2 games tonight, 3 games tomorrow, including the Bills and Lions. And then you can get more scouting done on the rest of the AFC East as the Dolphins are at the Bears on Saturday. So that's a 1 o'clock game in the afternoon. So you'll have a chance to take them in, and then there's a whole slew of games for Saturday evening. Basically, everybody else is playing with the exception of the Panthers and Colts, who play on Sunday at 1 p.m. The featured games are on NFL Network. The rest of the slate, I guess you got to be local, pull something in on satellite. I don't know, but I don't know, I'm gonna kind of tune in to see what Cam's looking like, the whole Mac Jones thing, Mag, with the Patriots tonight against Washington. I'm definitely gonna tune into that.
Yeah, the Patriots have an interesting roster, let alone some other teams in the AFC East that will be facing more than once this season. That quarterback situation with the Patriots, definitely intriguing to see how Mac Jones is coming along, to see if Cam Newton's getting some reps, how that thing is going to shake out. Because as we've talked about before, those two are not similar quarterbacks. They don't really fit together in a room just because their style is quite different.
No question about that. And then we already saw that Rashad Bateman, the first-round draft choice of the Ravens, or one of their two first-round draft choices, suffered an injury in practice yesterday, limped off the field, and then John Harbaugh, the head coach today, said Bateman is going to have surgery on his groin. And all he would say is he's going to be back sometime in September. Did not say anything about week 1. So that is a difficult loss for them. I mean, yes, they added Sammy Watkins in free agency. They still have Hollywood Brown and obviously the tight end Andrews. But man, this was a guy I think that they were counting on to be one of their top 3 receiving targets. And it looks like he's going to be out of the mix. Of course, Lamar Jackson has only gotten back to practice this week after coming off the COVID reserve list himself. But these are tough things to weather before you even set foot on a regular season field, especially for a player like Peyton, who, by all accounts, is a talent that they were counting on to help improve their passing.
Yeah, you look at the Ravens, what they have in the run game, what Lamar Jackson is going to be able to do, and you want to add weapons in your passing game. And with someone like Bateman going down, especially this early in camp, when those reps are so valuable to him as well, it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. I was watching Good Morning Football this morning and had Sammy Watkins on for an interview, and he was just talking about Lamar Jackson being back and a part of practices and just how much Lamar Jackson adds to that team, to the offense, and how talented of a quarterback he is. I mean, Sammy Watkins has gotten to play some pretty good quarterbacks over the last couple of seasons. A couple of MVP players when you look at the last couple of years.
And then the Jets, I know they're not going to be terribly successful this year. A lot of people feel like this is a growing year for them under new coach Robert Saleh, but you hear some of these stories that come out of Jets camp and you're just like, man, that is so Jetsian. Denzel Mims, the former high draft choice for them out of Hill a couple of years ago, I lost 20 pounds because of food poisoning from salmon. Got a hold of some bad salmon, lost 20 pounds. He went from 217 to 197. I guess he was like violently vomiting for like several days in a row. It's like I wanted to curl up in the fetal position and just go away somewhere. And I don't blame him. Food poisoning, I've never, knock on wood, I've never had a really bad situation that lasted for days on end like that. I had a friend though who had salmonella poisoning, and he's like, I don't know if I'll ever be right again. I don't know if I'll ever eat chicken the same way again. Denzel Mims was in a very bad place apparently. Fortunately, he's gained 11 pounds back, but have you ever dealt with like bad food or like had a bad night with some bad meal or something? How long would it last?
Thankfully, I have a rock hard stomach, so I don't really deal with those issues. I don't think I've ever done food poisoning in my entire life. I would probably be miserable if I did get it. I have gotten the flu a couple times. That was terrible enough. I never want to experience something like Denzel Mims went through, but thinking about other people who've gone through something like this, when I was working at Tennessee, we were working a basketball game for SEC Network, something like that. We had an early call time, and so everybody got Panera for breakfast. I specifically was not working that game, but there was something wrong with that Panera breakfast because about 20 people got food poisoning and weren't around for a couple days after they ate that Panera food. And I think it ruined Panera for quite a few people. I mean, you eat something and you get sick off of it, you're probably like, I'm not going to touch that food for a long time or ever because it just brings me back to those terrible moments of sitting on the toilet.
Yeah, I had a great school friend
who got sick from a hot dog at like age 8. Never ate a hot dog again. He's like, I will never, ever eat a hot dog because that is how awful I felt. And, you know, probably just didn't get cooked enough or whatever it was. And he swore him off the rest of his life, which I guess, you know, knowing the healthy food eater you are, I'm sure you don't go anywhere near hot dogs. But yeah, he swore it off. And he's like, he's like a full-grown adult, kids and everything now. He's still, I talked to my mom. I said, how you doing on hot dogs? That is nothing changed. I am not eating hot dogs. Dude, like 30 years ago. Never been done. I am done. Done deal.
I feel like even a baseball game though, you're good
Well,
for
right,
it.
right.
Here at a baseball game, right?
Yes.
Isn't everybody?
Speaking of baseball, I'm not trying to pick on your Cubs here, man, but I saw
Oh
that
my
Brewers
gosh.
picture last night. I just need to know, when you're watching your team and the other pitcher strikes out 10 of them in a row, like, how does the anger level, the frustration level rise? Meteoric, where it's like 1 to 10 immediately, or keep passing guys, level up, and then when do you like, can somebody get something? Like, how about foul ball?
Well, as a Cubs fan, the last couple of weeks have been pretty frustrating. Watch them play off the entire team. Some of the glue guys to their 2016 World Series championship year. I mean, the memories from that season, the memories of those players, the number of dogs named Rizzo and Bryant and so many other names from that roster walking around in Chicago, it is not the same anymore. They frustrate the heck out of me. I don't really have the time to give them at the moment right now because I am so salty about what happened.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. And Cubs fans have more patience than most, just based on their history, maybe more than anything else. I think that World Series just might have to be the high point for a while here because they got a lot of rebuilding to do, for sure. So just try to soak up the memory of that one. At least there's a lot of older players, like people in the 80s and 90s, at least die happy. They at least a World Series. Not seeing 1908, was that the last one?
Yeah, 1907, 1908, I want to say, but yeah, that's my dad's one line before they won the World Series. I just want one before I die. I just want one before I die. Now he's got a lot left in his life, so now I just want 2 before I die.
But he's altered the statement. That's funny. I'm sure a lot of Bills fans are saying the same thing. I mean, I've seen the T-shirts just one before I died here in Buffalo. And this looks like a pretty good chance for the Bills here in 2020. Pretty good at it. I don't know if you saw that the comment by Zach Wilson impressed me. His comment that he was asked about some of the interceptions he has thrown on the late in the practice at training. And some of the have said, oh, well, okay, today, 3 picks or whatever. And Zach Wilson turned that around and explained that he's working on something when he takes the kind of risks that he has in practice. Here's what he said about it.
Taking care of the ball is 100% quarterback's job. And one of my goals when I came out here and I got drafted was just like, how can I adapt to this NFL game as quickly as I can? And I can't be afraid to make mistakes, especially in practice. You know, this isn't a game. This is where I'm learning what I can get away with and what I can't. So, you know, there's times where, you know, maybe in a real game I probably wouldn't throw that, but it's times where I'm like, well, let me try right here and see what I can get away with. And it's, you know, as you get closer to the game, you have to start teaching yourself, you know, in that situation, you know, let's see they got a hand on and make a play. And so it's like, okay, well, next time in that situation, that same look, I'm going to check the ball down. And so that's what we practice for us to be able to play situations out like that.
Yeah, I don't know about you, man. I just think there are some young quarterbacks in this league that don't recognize the value of practice in this way. Like, use practice to help you avoid the mistakes that you could make in a game by using the practice field as a test. And use that. I was very impressed by that. That's a very mature statement from a very young player. And I think he's using it the right way. He's not even looking up to New York. They might have a quarterback that, you know, actually has a good head on his shoulders. He's trying to do it. I'm not saying he's not going to make mistakes, but what do you think of that comment?
No, I like it. I mean, if he wasn't truthful, it's a perfect way to cover up those interceptions. But I feel like he was being truthful. I mean, that's a better answer, as you alluded to. And you don't want to be too cute in your first training camp. Of course, you're going to want to be aggressive, push the ball down the field, test your limits with your receivers, test your limits with your running backs, with your offensive line, because you're trying to figure out this entire roster. This is your first few weeks in pads that you've been able to get with them. I think what quarterback wouldn't want to do that that's in a new situation, or what player wouldn't want to do that that's in a new situation, or that's a rookie? This is the perfect time to be aggressive and to kind of see what you can and can't do, what you can get away with, what you can't get away with. Then you're going to set yourself up for being in a better place week one. Hopefully, when the Bills face the Jets this season, we don't get that type of Zach Wilson who's connecting on those throws at that point. I think, of course, you'd agree with this. This team is probably still a couple years away from having the entire puzzle together.
I will say, their offensive line, if you look at it across the board, it looks pretty good. I mean, they've done a good job of assembling some veterans, and obviously they've drafted linemen high the last couple of years with Becton and Vera Tucker, who look like they're going to start together on the left. That'd be a heck of a combination over there for years to come for them if it works out. So they're doing some good things there. I just think there's a lot of building blocks left to assemble there before they make some noise in the league again. And obviously, the guy we're talking about, Zach Wilson, really has to come along, if not this year, certainly by this time next year. It looks like the Saints had a kumbaya moment between Michael Thomas and head coach Sean Payton. We know that Sean Payton had made some comments regarding his frustration over the timing of Thomas's ankle surgery that he had in June, which could compromise his readiness for the regular season. And then, meanwhile, Thomas was expressing his frustration, saying that he was trying to cover for the Saints so they would look bad. Meanwhile, they're making him look bad. So it looks like they had a kumbaya moment together and smoothed it all over. I don't think it's going to change the fact as to when Thomas is going to be ready. I mean, this is going to be an interesting timeline here going forward. I know they have bigger fish to fry, like who the heck's starting quarterback. There is some lack of continuity and some disruption that the Saints are trying to work their way through now. They're also apparently in the market to try to land a cornerback. Patrick Robinson just retired, so just out of the blue, I'm done. So this is uncommon for a Saints organization that pretty much is just level-headed all the way through, but I guess that's what happens when you franchise quarterback.
Yeah, the Saints team, how they put it together, how they're able to mesh on the field with a new quarterback who they haven't had to worry about for quite some time. You add Michael Thomas into the mix there, his health, what he was even dealing with, I mean, last season. This is somebody who can help put a Band-Aid over your offense and over figuring out that quarterback position, because you have someone who can catch the ball and do a great job of doing so. Alvin Kamara is also someone who's thankfully on their roster, who can also soften some of those edges. Hand it off to him, throw it to him. He'll be able to go one-on-one against any type of player on the defense and probably work some good moves and help this team out in the long run. By the way, Alvin Kamara, Tennessee grad,
Yeah.
Tennessee Jumbotron at Neyland Stadium. They have older players on the back of it. It's this huge Jumbotron that you can see when you're driving on one of the roads right next to the university. There was an empty spot for a new face, a new player to go on the back of the Jumbotron. Alvin Kamara's face went on it a couple days ago.
All right. Well, he'd be my best friend. That guy helped me win fantasy football in a big way last year. He was a huge guy on my roster. We had our friendly league. That guy, he had 6 touchdown week one week for me when I was playing the second best team in the league. I would not have won with him. And so Alvin's in good graces with me. I don't have any problem. He could be my best friend as far as fantasy football is concerned. We want to get into what we're going to discuss today on the show with you. Thanks for joining us here on One Bills Live here on Thursday. First and foremost, we'll let you know who's going to be joining us in the second hour of the program. It's CBS Sports NFL contract analyst Joel Corey. He's a former NFL agent, and he just broke down the Josh Allen contract extension and actually drew a direct comparison to that of the Patrick Mahomes contract in a recent write-up on CBSSports.com. So Joel will be joining us in the second hour of the program to kind of lay some of that out. We've also got some contract questions for him. So Manny and I will try to help him maybe elaborate on the pluses of the deal, not only for Josh, but for the Bills as well going forward. So we look forward to that conversation. And we also want to discuss with you, obviously we're on the precipice of preseason game number 1 against the Lions tomorrow night. So naturally, when we get to that first preseason game, I think just about all of us are doing this. We're probably keeping a little bit closer eye on a player of interest to us. And so what we want to know from you is, which player on offense and defense are you keeping an eye on during tomorrow night's preseason game against Detroit, and why? Not just like, I want to look at this guy. Well, why do you want to look at that? Let us know. 803-0550, 1-888-550-2550, the number to get on board, or you can hit us up on the food sheet at One Bills Live. And as we were talking about at the top of the show, Manny, with a good number of starters not expected to play, not only are you going to get a chance to look at some of these players that might be second or third teamers, for lack of a better term, you might see some second teamers against starters, which would only help in evaluating, well, can these guys really cut it against NFL competition?
I wonder what the Lions game plan will be if they're planning to place some starters in that first quarter like we've seen in the past. I mean, Sean McDermott was asked about this in his press conference, which is a good point. You're going from 4 preseason games in 2019 to 3 here in 2021. Of course, they didn't have any preseason games last year, so it's a little bit different this year. But the question is, you have 1 less preseason game, so does that mean your starters have a little bit more of a role across those 3 preseason games, or is it going to be the same? And for someone like the Bills, where Sean McDermott talked about, I'm so comfortable with this roster, at least the front end. I know these guys, I know what they can do. They were on the team last year, the year before. He may feel like he doesn't really have to get a look at them in preseason because he already knows what to expect, and he doesn't want to put them out there in case they get injured or anything like that. So I would say for the Bills, we're going to see a lot of backups through the first through the entire preseason, really. And so going against the Lions, if they do get a chance to see some starters, this is going to really help out the rookies, help out some of those second, third string guys who are fighting for a chance to make the roster. It's going to be good for them to go up against anyone other than themselves at this point through 12 training camp practices.
Right, and I think we have to remember this too. If I remember right, I believe Lions head coach Shane Campbell said the starters are going to play some, and then I think he threw in up to a quarter. So I think we have to remember where the Bills are at in their development stage. Obviously, a proven playoff team, a Super Bowl contender, ton of continuity. Meanwhile, the Lions, new head coach, new coaching staff, myriad of new players, and new schemes in all 3 phases. So they need to get on the field and play in preseason games like this. So yeah, I do expect their starters to play a good bit, as he outlined earlier this week. So that'll be good competition for a lot of the second teamers and third teamers that you mentioned for the Bills. But let us know which player on offense and defense you're keeping your eye on during Friday night's preseason game against the Lions. Eddie, did you have any names that immediately popped into your head when we were discussing this as a show topic today for the Twitter poll?
Me, Brownie, I have probably like 10 names of guys that I'm going to have my eye on. I'm sure you do too. It's hard to just pick one player on this roster with some of the younger guys and some of the new players who have shined at points in training camp. I mean, going down my little roster cheat sheet that we've gotten at practices, I mean, I'm excited to see starting with the offensive line. I want to see Spencer Brown. He's been on the field so much during this training camp. He's had his wins and he's had his losses, and he talked about that when he talked to the media yesterday after practice, learning from those losses and learning from those wins. I want to see him against a different team, tackling people, going up against people. Of course, he's not going to be doing any tackling per se since he's an offensive lineman, but getting those live reps that are important in pass pro, what he can do in the run game. I want to see what Ike Bucker can do. This is someone who's not technically new to the roster, but this is someone who could be a really good rotational player in that offensive line who we did see start in some games last season. I want to see what he's going to do. Going down to running back, Antonio Williams. He's someone who's gotten quite a few reps during training camp as well and has had his days where he stood out among the running backs. Matt Breida, a new running back to this offense. What is his role going to look like? He's a veteran player, so we may not see him at all, or we may not see much of him just because he's someone who's played a lot more in the league rather than someone like Antonio Williams. I mean, wide receivers, Isaiah Hodgins, Brandon Powell, Jay Coomer are a couple of names that I'm going to be looking at. I'm sure that crosses over with you for some of these guys if we're starting off with the offense first.
Yeah, I mean, I had Brown and Hodgins checked off on my list. I also had Breida. So, yeah, you and I are kind of thinking along those same lines. I don't know how much or if we will see Jacob Hollister because, he had only just come off the back injury to return to practice this week. But I wanted to, I'm more interested in seeing how he's utilized than I am in evaluating is he good enough to be on the roster. I think his time in the league confirms that. I'm more curious, how is Brian Dable going to use him? I know we're going to have vanilla schemes and they're not going to play their hand as to what they're going to do the regular season all that much, but I'm just curious more as to how they're going to deploy him. Is it going to be similar to that of Dawson Knox, or how his role look a little different when he is out there? So that's kind of the motivation with him. And then I'm curious, just from a pure, what's this guy got to offer perspective? With Buddy Howard, that late tight end at the beginning of training camp, seems like an athletic kid, loose athlete. They even had him on special teams. And anytime you see a guy low on a depth chart at special teams, that means he's got a better chance than some that are deep on a roster at position. And so, again, this is more of a curiosity thing. Do I think he's going to leapfrog like 3 guys, a tight end in the roster? Not really. But it's those guys on the bottom end that also play special teams. A lot of times they're just like, I don't know what that guy's got. Like, I'm not like, oh, he's going to make the roster. It's more like, does this guy have something to offer? Maybe even not now, but is he going to be able to show enough? Maybe you're a practice squad spot, and then a team works with him, and they develop him, and then maybe a year from now, maybe even 2 years from now. Like, you look at Josh Thomas, that safety on the defensive side of the ball. He comes in as an undrafted rookie, he makes the practice squad. He's on the practice squad the whole year. Now he's fighting for one of those backup safeties. Like, that's the kind of interest I have in Bud Howard. Like, what is there enough there that's going to convince the Bills to work with? What do you have? You know what? Let's take a break here, and then we'll talk about who you have your eye on for the defensive side of the ball, and we'll run through that side. And we will also be taking your phone calls at 803-05. Which player on offense and defense are you keeping your eye on during Friday night's preseason opener in Detroit against the Lions? Let Maggie and I know. We'll take a break here, but we'll be back with that next on One Bills Live, presented by Quad Health and Buffalo Bills Radio.
WGR Sports Radio 550. All sports, all the time.
At Fisher Investments, our clients know we have their backs.
How do your clients know that?
Because Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, the highest standard for a financial advisor. It means we're there for our clients and always put their interests first.
So wait, you do it because you have to?
No, we do it because it's the right thing to do. Our clients trust us with their retirement savings, and we know how important that responsibility is. So we take the time to really get to know them.
Get to know them how?
We make sure we understand their unique goals, finances, health, family, and lifestyle, so we can tailor their portfolio to their specific needs. Our goal is to help them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Sounds like a big responsibility. You must make big commissions then, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We have one single transparent fee that's structured so we do better when our clients do better. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you are switching to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Hi, it's Mike Show. Hopefully an auto accident isn't something that happens regularly in your life. If you do have an accident, you might not be that familiar with the steps that have to be taken to resolve your case. That's where the attorneys of Ramos and Ramos come in. Their team of caring attorneys will help you through the process to ensure that deadlines aren't missed and provide you with answers to all your questions. So you can stop worrying about your case and focus on healing your body and getting back to your life. There are hundreds of accidents every day, but at Ramos and Ramos, you are never treated like a number. The caring attorneys and staff at Ramos and Ramos always focus on your case as if it's their only one. At Ramos and Ramos, your case matters, your injuries matter, you matter. If you've suffered a personal injury, call the caring attorneys at Ramos and Ramos today for a free case evaluation. Call 340-0000 or go to ramosandramos.com. Ramos and Ramos, caring attorneys helping good people.
Hear that? That's the plumpest, juiciest hot dogs you've ever seen getting a grill on. But we both know what'll make it sound even better. Oh yeah, it's a Pepsi to go with your hot dog. Because when you're chomping on America's favorite meal, relish, mustard, and onions perfectly blending into a crescendo of flavor, there's only one thing that makes everything about that moment better. A cold, refreshing Pepsi. One mouth-watering sip is all it takes to make this whole experience go from pretty good to jaw-droppingly, table-poundingly incredible. Don't believe me? Just listen. See what I mean? It's like music to my ears. And if you'll excuse me, I have a date with the two most beautiful things I've ever seen. Or heard. Hot dogs. Better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
The wait is over. Summertopia is here. The place where fantastic food meets fun, where the cutest animals hang out, where the best rides await. It's time for the Erie County Fair. Join Pepsi at the Erie County Fair now through August 22nd. Buy your tickets online at ecfair.org.
Finding the perfect used car can feel like searching for a needle in a haystack. At Northtown, we make it simple with a focus on certified pre-owned. When you see the certified symbol from the official vehicle manufacturer, you know the vehicle has passed a rigorous inspection and comes with extra benefits like a manufacturer warranty and roadside assistance. To find the best value and peace of mind, head to Northtown. Northtown Certified Vehicles, an official partner of the Buffalo Bills.
Hi, I'm Josh Allen, quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. Teamwork is defined as the combined action of a group, especially when effective and efficient. But in Western New York, it's truly defined by the critical care team at Oshai Children's Hospital. This team doesn't just win games, they save lives. Join me to support their life-changing wins. Give today at patriciaallenfund.org.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel teaches you conversations that you will actually use. With 14 languages and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll learn what matters most to you. Babbel. Language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com.
Creamy nut butter makes it delightfully sweet. Roasted nuts make it perfectly salty. Get two great tastes in one delicious bar. Enjoy the Nature Valley sweet and salty nut bars today.
college, there's no cost for books and supplies, so students can focus on what really matters. Your full college experience, learn in person, make friends, and explore your potential. All in our supportive and vibrant community. Apply now and see for yourself at Villanova.edu. Classes start August 30th.
You're listening to One Bills Live with Chris Brown and Steve Tasker on the home of the Bills. WGR Sports Radio 550. All sports, all the time.
All right, welcome back. About the players and defense, we're going to be keeping our eye on Friday night and explaining why. And you have the opportunity to let us know who you're going to be looking at a little more closely than maybe some of the others taking the field for the Bills on Friday night against the Lions. 803-0550, 888-550, or on the tweet sheet at One Bills Live. So let's go to the defensive side of the ball here, Manny. And who did you kind of check off? Who's got a good check mark next to their name for you for Friday night?
All right, the easy answer is on the defensive line of Greg Rousseau. I think everyone is excited to see what these guys look like against some live reps and how many live reps they'll get. But it'll be fun to see them in their first preseason game as an NFL player. I mean, other than that, Efe Obada, Daryl Johnson, he's always good for a couple crazy plays every season where he just showcases his athleticism. He's been on the team, a couple years now. Huge special teams guy. Of course, we talked about how important it is to be a special teams player if you're one of those second string, third string guys, and how you can really solidify a spot on this team by being a special team player. Daryl Johnson is one of those guys. Safety. You mentioned Josh Thomas, DeMar Hamlin, one of those newer players. Jaquan Johnson, someone who's been a special teams ace, has been talked about by Keith Farwell, our special teams coordinator. He's someone who is kind of waiting in the wings. I mean, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer back there, they're not getting too many reps, but in the preseason games, some of these guys should be full. Dave Jackson, if he gets any reps. Fran Neal is someone who has had a pretty good training camp, at least in the start of training camp. He was definitely showcasing his athleticism, had a couple interceptions there in the beginning of training camp, and then guys were asked about him. Everyone said he's one of the most athletic players on this roster. So those are a couple defensive guys that I'm looking at, that I'm looking forward to seeing in this preseason game on Friday night. What about you, Brownie?
Before I get to that, NFL Network's Tom Pelissero just tweeted this out. The NFL informed clubs today they'll now be permitted to sign or elevate international players to the active roster, subject to certain rules per a source. Now, we don't know exactly what all the rules are, but he basically says that any of the 14 players in the International Pathway Program this year whom a shot, they'd be eligible to play in regular season NFL games. So previously the rule is, or the rule has been, if you put an international pathway player on your practice squad, they are stuck there the entire year. They cannot be elevated to your active roster. They're on the practice squad, and that is it. So short of being signed away from your team by another team to be put on an active roster, they're stuck there. It doesn't appear that is going to be a roadblock anymore. They will be eligible to be presumably elevated by the way this reads from Tom Pelissero. Very interesting news for someone like Christian Wade and Efe Obada, although Obada, I think you would agree, looks like he's going to have a pretty good shot to make the Bills roster all by himself anyway.
Yeah, I would say Efe Obada is someone who is definitely has a really good chance to make this roster based on what he did last year, based on his familiarity with his defense, and just based on the athleticism that he's shown through practices the first couple weeks. He's had a couple of sacks in practices, but yeah, Christian Wade is someone who's been on this team for 2 years now, heading into his third season in that International Players Pathway Program. Has had a chance in preseason games, of course, the way that and see any action because he was on that practice squad for the entire year. So it's good for him if this is the case for this rule. We know that he's injured now, so I wouldn't expect to see him at all in Friday's preseason game.
Yeah, that was, I mean, you want to talk about bad luck. I mean, here's a guy that needs preseason games, not only to get himself some experience, as F.A. O'Mara was telling us in his press conference earlier in the week. You know, we're picking this game up late. We're trying to make up for lost time to gain valuable instincts that everybody lining up with us has had since probably age 12 or 13. And we're trying to pick this game up as young 20-somethings, and it's hard. So first, he doesn't get any preseason games last year because of the pandemic. That hurts him in terms of getting valuable experience and developing skills in pro football. And now, this year, we get to the first preseason game, and he's got his arm in the sling and his shoulder injury. It's bad luck. I just feel bad for the guy because I thought he was a very brave guy. I mean, he was an accomplished rugby player, and to make this kind of change, career change, at age 28, and try to do it at the highest possible level of football that there is on the planet, that's a great decision. And to be hit with bad luck, to kind of throw roadblocks in his way, that's just got to be frustrating to the umpteenth degree. But who knows? The way this plays out, this might afford him an opportunity that he previously may not have had to maybe get cracked some way, somehow, in a regular season game. So getting back to our conversation, Maddie, the people I'm looking at here, the guys that jumped out of the defensive side of the ball for me. Obama, I wanted to see in a regular season game setting. I tried to watch some of his games in Carolina, but I kind of want to see him here. Rousseau, obviously. I want to see AJ in the game setting. We've heard nothing but glowing remarks about how much he's elevated his game, his body composition, and all of that. Now let's see the proof in the pudding and see where we get there. And then I jump quickly to the secondary. Now, Dane Jackson is a guy that has not had a strong training camp. His play has been very uneven through the first 2.5 weeks. I don't know if I should stand in this, but I wonder about it. Is this a guy who, when the lights come up, opportunity of getting on the field? Like, is he a game? I guess it's a question I am asking going into this first preseason game, knowing how weeks. And then Josh Thomas is a guy that he's a very athletic player, but is he going to be able to hold off somebody like Damar Hamlin, for a fourth safety job behind the two veteran starters? I think everybody feels like Jaquan Johnson has been here long enough and is a sharp player that he's probably going to be. He stands a good chance of, being the first safety off the bench if there's an injury. But I want to see what Josh Thomas has to offer in the game setting. And then the last guy is Siran Neal, who may finally be comfortable enough in this defensive scheme where he might be able to challenge somebody for a role. So I'd like to see what he can offer in this game, because he's had, I think, not spectacular, but I think he's been pretty consistent. He's the most
You can't help but think about how athletic a player like him could be, just his build. He's not the tallest cornerback there is, but he has got a lot of muscle on his body, and I think he uses that to his strengths when he's lining up against some of these wide receivers. When he's able to push the ball out, have pass breakup, getting the passing lane and having interception. I think a lot of that he uses because of the strength that he has. And guys like Leslie Frazier, I can't remember what veteran talked about him, but they just raved about how he is one of the most athletic players on this roster. And now finally, maybe that defense is clicking to him where he can put those two things together. And like you said, really compete for a spot where we've seen him frequently in games, not
bonding, and things like that. And beyond office, which is exactly considered downtown. So, we're not short on athletes here, we still sort of say that, Randy, you know, saying some, we have to take some sort of over like that. You have to look on all the pieces in terms of who you're looking at in finding out a preseason opener on offense and on defense, and why. We'll have those comments from you next, here on One Bill Block. Stay tuned.
WGR Sports Radio 550. All sports, all the time.
When you're ready to buy something, the first thing you do is go online. Buying a home is different. You've got more applications, more companies, offers, things to talk. That's where Realtors expertise in local models to give you a competitive edge that Switchboard just can't. And in today's market, an edge is more than you need. So when you're ready to buy a home, the first thing to do is make sure you have an agent who's a realtor. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
For the ones going above and beyond. For the ones reaching out, helping out, and loving you. For the ones you can count on Grainger. Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry. Backed by 24/7 customer support and specialists to help with hard-to-find products. Because you've got everyone's back. We've got yours. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You're looking for fine quality furniture. It's a big decision. That's why you've got Calvin's Furniture and Calvin's Living Room. American East Home. Calvin's sells clients for living room furniture you want. And they can sell it at the biggest discount for over 70 years. Calvin's Furniture is proud to showcase true American furniture names like Bragg & Young, Classic Leather, King Hickory, and more. If you're looking for true Amish-made furniture, Calvin's has that too for anywhere in your home. At Calvin's, we know that quality is your best investment. To find American furniture Calvin's sales is worth the wait. Simply because quality runs out. Support furniture. If you're looking for quality American-made furniture, come to locally owned and operated Calvin's Furniture and Calvin's Leather Gallery.